Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. Today we're going to talk about a new cryptocurrency that we have not spoken about before on the channel. The currency is called Avalanche. If you guys like the content, please subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up. Also check out the Telegram channel, which you can find a link to in the description below. So Avalanche is a project that I have been following for about a year now, in fact. And I recently mentioned it on the premium list about 3 weeks ago when it was around $12 or so. Essentially what I do is I wait for projects to reach that $1 billion market capitalization. And it did that. It hit $1 billion about 3 weeks ago. So I mentioned it. It was around $11 or $12. We're now looking at a $31 Avalanche. Okay? And what I said then, a few weeks ago, is that this one is one that I was expecting to climb the ranks. Now, a few weeks ago, it was around 42, 43. Now it's moved up to around 27. However, if you're watching this video, going and FOMOing into coins that are up, say, 150% in a week, obviously carries a lot of risk. Okay, so I'm not buying Avalanche at this time. But it's one of those projects that I do I do have, and I want to follow it on the channel. So I might as well introduce it so that in the future when I talk about it, we have some basis. Okay, this is where we started out, talking about it, and then now we want to follow it and see if it can continue climbing the ranks over the macro scale. One of the things, and we'll get a little bit more into the specifics in a minute, but one of the things that a lot of people like to do in a bull market is pick coins or make calls on coins, and pat themselves on the back when they do well. But a monkey could do that, right? I mean, look at this. This is a bull market. The only things you see in the red are the stable coins, because everyone's FOMOing into crypto, into the coins that'll give you that are volatile. So it's not hard to pick winners in a bull market, right? It's not hard to pick coins that will trend up in value because it's a bull market. I mean, look at this. Everything, for the most part, is in green, and the ones primarily that are not in green that we've seen are actually the ones that are the stable coins. We would have to go all the way down here to find a single coin that isn't green over the last 24 hours. Okay, so the idea is not to pick out coins that will trend up, because anyone could do that, right? The goal is to pick cryptocurrencies that will perform better in terms of their market ranking. Okay, so it's already made a phenomenal move over the last 3 weeks. I first discussed it on the premium list at around 1 billion. It's now at around 2.5 billion or so. So it has a long way to go before it could theoretically make it to the top 10. In order to make it to the top 10, it would need to go up another 4x. So I mean, you can see that the current valuation on Avalanche is around a modest 2.4 billion. To get to the top 10, it would need to get to at least 10.3, give or take. I mean, it depends on what those valuations are at the time, but you're looking at least another 4x to make it to the top 10. Now, there's a decent chance it never makes it to the top 10. However, this is one that I would very much like it if it made it to the top 10, and it's one that I'm happy to talk about on the channel now that it's crossed the 1 billion market capitalization threshold, which I put on myself to talk about cryptocurrencies. And in the same manner, it has bounced off the 20-day moving average like a lot of our other cryptocurrencies that we follow. Now, if you're wondering what Avalanche is, basically it's a platform to launch DeFi applications. What I like to do is I like to bet on people, and when we talk about Polkadot, it's kind of a bet on Gavin Wood. Talk about Cardano, a bet on Charles Hoskinson. When it comes to Avalanche, it's a bet on Amin. And Amin is a fairly well-known professor at Cornell in computer science, and I mean they even recently launched a bridge, I believe, or they're in the process of launching it, or they already launched it. I haven't actually read up on the most recent news of the morning, considering that Bitcoin has broken past its prior all-time high. That was taking a little bit more precedence, but it did recently launch. It connected Avalanche with Ethereum for decentralized finance transfer. So I think there's a lot of good news coming out for Ethereum, and we're in a we're in a bull market right now. So it's my understanding, my interpretation, that as long as the market stays healthy in terms of Bitcoin not capitulating back to say like the 20-week moving average or anything like that, and alt season continues on, which is of course what we would like to see happen, then in that scenario, I'm excited to see how far Avalanche can trend up the ranks. Okay, so if you're just hearing about this coin for the first time, it was literally at like 43 like 2 or 3 days ago. Okay, and so when you look at coins that are up 50% in a day, 143% in a week, you have to be cautious, right? You have to be cautious. With that said, I do want to see Avalanche continue up the ranks over the macro scale, and it's one that I hope that at some point we can come and look back on and systematically watch it climb the ranks. There's a lot of coins in here that I think will fall out that I've mentioned before, like BCH, Litecoin. I don't think these will stand the test of time in terms of the top 10. I also don't think Dogecoin will either. I think a lot of these will fall down, as well as like EOS and some other of these coins, and that Avalanche hopefully will continue trending upwards. Now, if you look at Avalanche against USD, it's done something really interesting. Again, it's bounced off the 20-day moving average, which we've seen a lot of times it do. So if we do see a pullback, which at some point we will, right? Pullbacks will come. If we do see a pullback, then what I would be looking for would be a potential bounce off the 20-day in order for the market to stay relatively bullish. The 20-day moving average right now is a modest $14.71. So, we're not even, we're like twice the price. We're more than twice the price of the 20-day moving average. So, at some point we will have a little correction. I don't know when it's going to be, but imagine it did something like this, right? This would be the area that we would want to theoretically hold in the event of a correction. We've seen similar things for DOT, right? We follow DOT on the channel, and let me pull up DOT actually. So we follow DOT on the channel a decent amount, and it has been bouncing off its 20-day moving average, right? So, we have 1, 2, and then 3. So Avalanche has also bounced off of it. So in the event of a correction, which we'll get at some point, I would say we would want to hold the 20-day moving average as support if possible, because that would certainly give us, hopefully, continue to give us nice bounces upwards. If we were to take a fractal, a bar pattern, which a lot of times these don't play out, I feel like they don't play out more often than they do, but if you were to overlay that move to say right here, maybe there's more juice left in the tank. So we'll see how high it can go. One of the things that I think is worth pointing out, and you guys have seen this pattern many times, this is Avalanche Bitcoin pattern. And if for those astute observers on the channel, you'll remember that it was the Ethereum Bitcoin valuation, right? So let's look at Ether. Sorry, let me go to the one that has more history. It was the Ether Bitcoin valuation and there's a lot of coins that look like this. DOT looks like this. Avalanche looks like this. There's a lot of coins that look very similar to this move. So you can see Ethereum launched here. It came down through Q4 and then skyrocketed up in Q1 and then ultimately got rejected down and then continued on. So we've seen the same thing with DOT Bitcoin when it launched. Avalanche Bitcoin looks fairly similar, right? It's a very similar pattern. Down in Q4, up, comes back down, and then continues on. So what I hope, again, is that it will continue upwards in the same manner that Ethereum did. Let's take some measured moves here to see what how the volatility compares. So if we were to go from launch, and let's look at weekly candles, so we're not looking at these like daily wicks. Let's look at weekly candles. So let's take a measured move let's take it from, say, here and go down. We ultimately capitulated about 80% against Bitcoin. That was Ethereum back in 2015, before rocketing back up to the top, 241%. And from this point, it went up another from that level, a modest 430% or so. So it was negative 80 down, 240 up, and then another 430 up. What has Avalanche done? Okay, well, let's take a look. Well, so it launched, it bled against Bitcoin, which makes sense, down 80%. Okay, same thing. Same exact thing as Ethereum, down 80%. And then it went up from here, it went up, back up to the top here, about 356%, which, if you look at Ethereum, Bitcoin, pretty similar move, right? Pretty similar move. And from here, what did it do? So far, it's moved up another 65%. If it were to emulate Ethereum's launch, okay, if it did, and it went up at 430% from that level, not saying that it will, not financial advice, but if it did, I mean, it would be a fairly significant move up, right? I mean, it would be going all the way up to these levels way up here. Okay. Now, if Avalanche were to go up another few multiples from here, then we'll likely continue to see it climb the ranks. Okay, we'll likely continue to see it climb the ranks because the idea is that it should outperform a lot of these other coins. So I want to see Avalanche continue to outperform the ranks and continue moving up. So again, remember, for it to get to the top 20, it doesn't even need to go up that much more, right? I mean, if you give it another 6 billion, right? What's a few billion among friends? Give it another 6 billion, and it's in the top 20. To make it to the top 10, it would need to go up essentially 4x, which would basically be that type of, something like this, some ridiculous move like this. So this is a coin. I think it's worthwhile to follow. Certainly, I would not be surprised to see any type of pullbacks over the next few weeks. If we do pull back, I would be looking at the 20-day moving average. So, if you're wanting to get in on this project, if you do see it at the 20-day, it would at least be less risky than it is now. If the idea is that we hold it, so you'll have to figure out, do you think it'll hold or not? Obviously, I don't know about short-term moves, but I want to introduce this coin because it is one that I would like to follow on the channel. And I've been wanting to talk about it for a long time on the live streams, but I felt like I needed a full introductory video to Avalanche. And here you can also see the Avalanche Ethereum valuation. Okay? So this is one we're going to follow. Again, if you're feeling like you missed the boat on it, it's really hard to say, right? I mean, it's up significantly so far, but it doesn't mean it can't continue. And again, this would be another benefit, as I should say, of being on the premium list. We talk about coins well before we talk about them on the public channel. We mentioned DOT on the private channel well before we ever mentioned it on the public channel. And here's another example. We mentioned Avalanche at around $11 or $12. I've been following it since last February. But even in this situation, I even on the premium list, I wait for them to get to that market capitalization of 1 billion before I will mention them. So it's not like I mentioned it that long ago, but it has gone up a modest 140% or so since I mentioned it there. So let's continue to follow it. We'll see what it does. I would be prepared for a lot of volatility with Avalanche, considering what it has done so far. If you take a measured move from the bottom here, it's already up 1,000% over 6 weeks, right? About 6 weeks, it's up about 1,000%. So I'm not chasing at this point, but I do want people to be aware of this coin because we will cover it in the future. Like a lot of the other coins, there's not a whole lot of data on it, so we need to take it in stride and see kind of what comes in. The only way to make it look like we have more data is to go to say like 1 hour time frames, or things like that, and look at it in this manner. So we'll see how long this parabolic move can continue. If you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And again, check out the premium list. You can find a link to the altcoin season sale in the description below. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up. I'll see you next time. Bye.